old man.
The Dodge truck driven by Cooper has a 6-speed manual. Murph is told to shift into second, but she pushes the stick forward into third gear.
All right, Murph, give me a second.
It would be impossible to drive with a flat through rough cornfields and keep up with the drone. The drone has an antenna on top, but the antenna disappears.
Mission control went down same as ours 10 years ago.
It's back. He's gonna make an excellent farmer.
Teenagers' future is decided at an early age. Wait a minute, am I watching Divergent? The plan to save the world is to discard science and dumbify the population. Aren't there any more agricultural universities? There's a lot of science that goes into farming if you want to do it right.
Corrected.
Explaining how the Apollo missions were fake to bankrupt the Soviet Union.
Notepad spiral binding has a number of loops loose from the pad. Then it switches to an undamaged notepad. Harvesting machines suggest that it's harvest season. However, corn is not harvested when it is green. Also, Dust Bowl conditions would not produce the high stalks and robust rows of thickly foliaged plants that we see in the movie. Robot harvesters are programmed to start when you kick their tires. Why was this guy sitting on the porch during the dust storm? And he didn't come in. I guess he is going back, sitting outside and enjoy the storm. At the beginning of the movie they say that the dirt gets everywhere, so why would anyone ever open the windows? The wind and dust blows from left to right on the screen. When the storm stops, the dust is piled up on the right side of the truck, which is the wrong side.
Murph, it's binary. Thick is 1, thin is 0.
To decode binary, you need to know its encoding standard.
The answers from us until I get assurances.
Assurances?
Yeah.
He still thinks he's in danger when he knows Professor Brand. There are pictures of astronauts hung on the walls, and a NASA flag.
Don't you know who we are?
Not enough clues, apparently. Lazarus' flag and door disappears, and the NASA flag appears.
The corn will die soon.
So Corn will die soon. Cooper is 40 years old when he left Earth and came back when he was 124 years old. So it took 84 years for Cooper to relay the data that saves the Earth to Murph. I guess die soon is relative.
The last people to starve will be the first to suffocate.
No single disease could attack all the crops on such a large scale.
You're the best pilot we ever had.
I barely left the stratosphere.
This team never left the simulator. We need a pilot, and this is the mission that you were trained for.
Oh, without even knowing it? An hour ago, you didn't even know I was alive. I mean, you were going anyway.
We had no choice.
Why would Professor Brand think that Cooper was dead? Maybe Professor Brand lost contact with Cooper, but I'm sure he could at least have tried to reach him to fly a mission to save all humanity. Also, maybe it happened off camera, but we never see Cooper trained for the mission.
Well, this entire facility is a centrifuge. Some kind of vehicle. Space station?
Both.
I'm not a scientist, but the solution to the gravity problem maybe is the fact that they are building a spaceship out of concrete. Just saying.
Bomb. Over 5,000 fertilized eggs, weighing in at just under 900 kilos.
Well, how would you raise them?
With equipment on board, we incubate the first 10. After that, with surrogacy, the growth becomes exponential.
Let me get this straight. The plan is to incubate the first 10 eggs, then they are going to raise 10 babies by themselves until they can bear children and act as surrogates? That doesn't seem like a very good plan. How are they going to feed everyone? Bringing plants from Earth probably would also bring the blight. Murph's necklace changes from outside to inside her t-shirt. A strand of hair on her right temple alternates from loose to brushed backwards depending on the shot. Cooper's watch shows something like 9 a.m. In the next scene, when he gives the watch to Murph, his watch shows something like 8:20 a.m. Launching from an underground launch chamber would create a huge acoustic energy reverberating in a confined tube that would destroy the rocket. Brand says you are literally wasting your breath, but then they go to Miller's planet, and Romley supposedly would stay on the ship using 7 years of oxygen, which ended up being 23 years.
Oh, just remember, Coop, you are literally wasting your breath.
Can we stop the spinning?
Romilly asks Cooper to stop spinning the ship, which would stop the gravity effect, but Romilly does not float all over the place.
Show you how it works. So they say you want to go from here to there, but it's too far, right? Mm-hmm. So a wormhole bends space like this, so you can take a shortcut through a higher dimension. Okay, so...
A pilot, an apparently smart engineer, needs to be explained what a wormhole is once the mission which involves traveling through a wormhole is already underway.
Implication. The planet is much closer to Gargantua than we thought.
Gargantua. It's what we're calling them, the black hole. Miller's and Dr. Mann's planets both orbit it.
And Miller's is on the horizon?
Oh, it's a basketball around a hoop. Landing there takes us dangerously close, and a black hole that big has a huge gravitational pull.
Colonizing this planet is a bad idea. At the end of the movie we see people living in a space station. So how would this work if they had colonized this planet? There will be a time differential of 7 years between the space station and the people on the planet. Not to mention that the planet is so close to a black hole that it would eventually get sucked in.
We take a wider orbit around Gargantua, parallel with Miller's planet outside of this time shift to here. And we take the range.
Cooper's drawing changes. They would have used up all their fuel to keep up with the Miller's planet for 23 years.
That'll work.
That's good.
There's not gonna be time for monkey business or chit chat down there. So Tars, you should definitely stay here. Case, you're with me. Anyone else can stay.
If we're...
Nothing escapes that horizon. Not even light.
But when they go down to the planet, there is daylight. Also, such planets so close to a black hole, it's not possible to exist.
Towards the mountains!
Those aren't mountains. They're waves.
Not being able to detect that massive tidal waves are covering the planet without first landing or exercising any degree of caution. Tsunamis that high cannot exist in such shallow water. They should have told Case to get the data. And why did Doyle just stood still? He would have made it if he had continued to run. The ship would have been destroyed. A spacecraft isn't built to survive shearing forces of water tides.
How's the wreckage stay together after all these years, huh?
Because of the time slippage.
Cooper knows about relativity, but then asks about the wreckage. He didn't know about wormholes, now forgets about relativity. Maybe there was a reason why he never left the stratosphere back in the days. If they're deep enough into the black hole that 1 hour is 7 years, then they are so deep in the gravity well that it will take immense energy to climb out of it, much more than what chemical thrusters on a lander can provide. Murph doesn't finish her corn before getting up. Isn't there supposed to be a shortage of food? This movie was praised for its science and for frozen clouds. It looks cool, so screw science.
Which was an older spinning black hole. It's what we call a gentle singularity.
Gentle.
Rommel is totally playing Cooper. There is a gentle singularity only at the very edge of a black hole. Go any further and you get sucked in and die.
After the horizon is a complete mystery. So, what's to say there isn't some way that the probe can glimpse the singularity and relay the quantum data? If he's equipped to transmit every form...
It's impossible to extract data out of an event horizon, so dropping Tars into the black hole wouldn't have produced anything useful. Getty asks how long she's had her cough. She replies off camera, a while. However, in her reflection, she is coughing into her arm.
How long have you had that cough?
A while.
You know why we couldn't just send machines on these missions, don't you, Cooper? A machine doesn't improvise well because you can't program a fear of death.
That's a crappy reason. Humans could send these obviously advanced robots to probe for water and organics.
Once the others realize what this place isn't, we cannot survive here. I'm sorry.
He could have just said that he lied and everyone could leave the planet to go to the next one. Even if they had all stayed, the planet can't sustain life, so they would have died anyway together with the human species. There was no oxygen on the planet, but the fire from the explosion continues to burn. Getting off Earth required a 3-stage rocket. Getting off these planets just require a lander craft.
He doesn't know the endurance docking procedure.
Well, the autopilot does.
Not since Tars disabled it.
If the autopilot can dock automatically, why did Doyle manually dock to the endurance at the beginning of the movie?
What happens if he blows the airlock?
Nothing good.
Cooper doesn't know what happens if he opens the pressurized inner hatch, and Man doesn't know it either. These are the best and brightest the humans sent to save the species. Maybe these guys should have taken some extra astronaut classes or become farmers instead. The Endurance after the explosion couldn't possibly rotate around the docking because its center of gravity changed. They should have planned this head thing a lot better. The G-forces are making Cooper's head lean to the left, but Brand's head leans to the right.
Okay. The navigational hub has been completely destroyed.
There is no way Cooper could navigate to the third planet with the navigation support completely dead. Radiation would disintegrate the spacecraft and Cooper before they got to the event horizon. The accretion disk temperature is an estimated 10 picometer, which is about 300 million kelvins. For comparison, our sun's surface is about 5700 kelvins. So don't dream of being an astronaut when you grow up because you want to explore the event horizon of a black hole. You will die. The gravitational pull will be so massive that the difference in gravitational attraction between the front of the ship and its rear will tear the ship apart along with Cooper into a gazillion pieces. This is called spaghettification. Romilly early in the movie explains that not even light escapes the black hole, hence the name black hole. All of these scenes should be black screen, but I guess that would not make a good movie. It would be impossible for Cooper to eject. Inside a black hole, the eject force acting in opposite direction to the massive black hole attraction would have a negligible effect. Early in the movie, time dilation is explained, but that goes out the window at this point in time. Even if Cooper could reach the black hole singularity by the time he got there, thousands, if not millions of years would have passed on Earth and everyone would be dead.
We brought ourselves.
Time travel paradox.
Find out, tell her.
Cooper could not be able to see everything in Earth time. Millions of years would be visible to Cooper in a short time, and he would not be able to react in such a short duration.
That's it. We code the data into the movement of the second hand. Dollars, translate the data into Morse and feed it to me.
Using Morse code to relay the data to Murph would take at least 3 decades. He could have started the data transfer with, "Hi, this is Dad," instead of keeping the data source a mystery for Murph. Tom, who was portrayed as an irrational person at the end of the movie, suddenly accepted that his father is alive and speaking via a ghost to Murph. Murph realizes that it is her father sending the messages, even though there is no evidence to support that. The gravitational anomaly is supposed to be localized by the shelf, but Murph is receiving the Morse code at her office.
They're not beings. They're us.
What? Nothing during the movie gives any clue to that.
For all of us.
Cooper, people couldn't build this.
No way anyone would notice a tiny human floating in the vastness of space. Brand looks like she hasn't aged. Murph says she is settling in for the long nap, so that could explain that what is shown is sometime in the past. However, she is going to sleep. How is she going to start a new human civilization? Plan B calls for her to take care of 10 kids by herself. I would go to sleep too if I had to take care of 10 baby girls all the way into their pregnant teens by myself. The spaceships are still the same after 70 years have passed, and even though humans can build super advanced space stations. Why did Cooper have to steal the ship at the end to go look for Brand? He could have just asked for a ship. Plan A was supposed to take humans to one of the 3 planets, but now that everyone's living on space stations, no one bothered to check on the possible survivors from Cooper's mission. In the end, Interstellar was about solving the gravity problem and not about colonizing a new world, which explains why the wormhole led to a black hole. Yep, how come NASA didn't figure that the planets were just a distraction, that the real goal was to go into the black hole?
It's not about hugging trees. It's not about being wasteful either.
You were there for less than a year. What the hell kind of a blip is that?
Learned a lot. In the end, though, I kinda screwed it up. Hey, Emily, it's Andy. Don't hang up. I have a favor to ask you.
You have a favor to ask of me?
Yeah, the thing is, I have all these clothes from Paris, and I don't have any place to wear them, so I was wondering if you could take them off my hands.
Well, I don't know. It's a huge imposition, and I'll have to get them taken in. I mean, they'll drown me. But I suppose I could help you out. I will have Roy pick them up this afternoon.
Thanks, Em, I appreciate it. Good luck.
That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.